Hello and welcome to the DSP Project. I'm your host Rupert Brown, and this week we're doing part 2 of the advanced launchpad configuration. Now the clever ones among you will have figured out being part 2 there was a part 1, and if you haven't watched that yet, I really suggest you go back and watch that video first, because you're going to need to understand what I'm doing in that video to get what's happening here. Now what's happening here is we are doing a drum pad setup. So this is a configuration I've made for cutting up drum loops on the fly. I mean, I have called this video Advanced Launchpad Configuration, but to be fair, you could set up most of this on another controller. I had a setup similar but not the same on my MPD-24 for my live sets. But the Launchpad's layout definitely lends itself very nicely to this particular technique. So that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to share it with you. The other cool thing about this setup is you can set your own safety level, if you will. So through quantization, if you're not that confident on your rhythmic button pressing, you can have a large quantization and then still be able to cut between different loops and create something new. And as you get more confident, you can bring the quantization level down finer and finer until you're able to jam out a brand new drum loop out of drum loops. And to understand what I'm on about, check this out. Okay, so let's have a look at how I've got my drum loops set up here. I've got them all in one channel, and these first 4 loops that are in purple here are actually all the exact same loop. The only difference between these 4 loops is I've changed the start point. So this bar at the top here changes the loop section, so this now would only loop this small part. And the arrow underneath here sets where the loop will start playing when we first hit the clip launch. So if you have a look here on the second one, I usually have the first loop as the beginning of the bar, second one as the snare, and then a bit more freedom for the second and third ones. I might pick whether there's sort of toms or hi-hats or something I think is going to be more interesting. So I've repeated the process over 3 loops, basically plonk them in, use Command D to duplicate them 4 times, and then just select some different start points. Now, depending on what kind of music you're going to try this with will depend where you can put the start points. If you're creating something that's maybe a bit more straight up, like a house beat or something, you're probably going to find that you want to keep it on the 1, 2, 3, and 4 beats in the bar. Whereas if you're doing something that's a bit more crazy, like for instance like jungle style cut up loops, I mean there's no end amount of fun to be had with a good jungle loop. Get something like an amen break and have a play with this. I guarantee you'll be up all night. So depending on what kind of break you have will depend on where you can put these start points. So like I say, with a jungly kind of loop, you can put it just about anywhere. Try putting the start points in really strange places, and you can get some really interesting rhythmic outcomes by starting in weird places and letting it roll before jumping to maybe like the start of the loop or something like that. So, because we're using the auto map mode, not the native mode, I've had to map the clip starts. So the first 4 clips are these 4 buttons here. Then the next 4 clips are these 4 buttons, and then the next 4 clips are these 4 buttons. So let's give that a quick go and see what that sounds like. So yeah, you can, as you can see, you can kind of jump around, and as I was saying before, you can change the quantization to sort of match your skill level. So I've got it on 8ths here. I'm trying to work up to 16ths. I'm still trying to refine my skills. So you can set this to 16th or even to like quarters. So obviously this is going to be less responsive and less expressive, but it's going to be a lot safer. But I mean, you can still have a lot of fun with it. Now you might want to have, let's say, you might want to have eighths, but then you might want the rest of your project to be on 1 bar quantization. So for your bass lines and things like that, when you hit them on your Launchpad, you might want them to start at the beginning of the bar, whereas you might want 16ths for your drums, so you can be more expressive. In which case, we can actually set a separate quantization for the project up the top here, as opposed to each individual clip. So let's say we wanted to have let's take that example. So I want 1 bar quantization for the rest of my project for when I'm launching everything else, but then for my drum loops I want to change the quantization to eighths. So I've highlighted the first loop, and I'm going to hold down Shift and select the bottom loop, so I've got them all highlighted, and down here under launch settings I can set it to 1/8. So if you can't see this, there's a little L down the bottom here to pop it out, and so now that has the same effect, but obviously everything else in my project is not affected by these quantization settings. Okay, so now I want to talk about carrying on in the launch section. I want to talk about legato. So what legato means is when I push play on another clip, rather than it starting from wherever I set the start point, it will just carry on. In the sense that if I'm playing this first clip here and it's running along, and let's say when it gets to the second beat here, I hit the play on this second clip. Rather than this clip starting from where the start point is, it will actually start playing from the second beat, so it will sort of carry on. So it doesn't matter where you jump around to, it will still just have the same. It will still just play from start to finish in time with live. So the advantage of this is that you can go as crazy as you want. You can jump around between any loops in any weird timing, no quantization at all, and it's all going to be in time because you're not actually affecting the start points of the loops. You're just sort of mixing around between the different ones. The downside, if it is a downside, is you do need to be more selective with your loops. So they really need to have the same kind of style, possibly the kicks and snares in similar places, otherwise it might get a little bit hectic. So I've got these 3 set up on these 3 buttons here, so let's see what it sounds like. So there you go, hopefully there was something in there for you to take home. If you have enjoyed this video, please head down to our website, theDSPproject.com, where you can subscribe. Also, if you want to get in touch with me, you can send an email to inbox@theDSPproject.com, and I read every single email that gets sent to me. And what else? More Launchpad videos. Do you want to see more? I haven't had a huge response for the Launchpad stuff I've done so far, so if you're interested in seeing some more advanced configuration type stuff, then leave some comments underneath this video, and then I will indeed go and make some more stuff for you. If not, maybe I'll move on to something else. Finally, I just want to give a little pimp for Kilotone, which is my main sort of musical outlet, and we've just released a 4-track EP of kind of somewhere between drum and bass, jungle, dubstep, something to try and put a name on it. But yeah, head down to kilotone.com if you want to listen to it. If there's enough time on the end of this video, I might even put a little sample for you. You can stream the whole thing for free, and we're running a name your price system for the download, so it's accessible to everyone. Yeah, I think that's about it for this week's episode. Join me next week where we will be talking about something else.